Hello everyone, I'm Louise Chunn. I'm the founder of welldoing.org, which is a UK-wide therapy platform which matches people with therapists in person or online. And today I'm here with Elizabeth Blaise, who's one of our therapists, to talk about finding meaning in your life. Elizabeth uses a range of therapy types, including CBT and Jungian, to treat clients struggling with anxiety, depression, and loss of direction in life. She sees her clients in Harley Street in King's Cross and is available on the Welldoing platform. So I thought we'd start, Elizabeth, by asking you to briefly describe the different types of therapy that you use.
My training is integrative, which means I've sort of got a 5-year training in all sorts of theories and frameworks. And really, when someone comes to to see you in a consulting room, what you really need to do is sort of look at them as an individual rather than just think, okay, this is what we're going to do, and give some time to see what it is that they need. So that means that I might work with CBT if it's a cognitive, it's a sort of around beliefs. I might work with creative imagination, with visualizations if that's going to be more appropriate. Yeah, we might look at early life, which is the psychodynamic approach. So it really depends on what the issues or the problems the person's coming with. There isn't a one size fits all, with therapy. And also it's not, another thing I think is really important, because I think people sometimes have misconceptions about therapy, although it's becoming much more, so many campaigns now that makes it more public and easy to talk about. But there used to be perhaps the misconception that there's something wrong with you. You go to a therapist to be fixed because there's something wrong with you. And that's very much a sort of pathologizing view, which I really don't adhere to. I think what happens is you have a symptom, and that might be anxiety or depression or something else, and that symptom is there alerting you, your psyche, that something in your life needs to change. Yeah? So it's a sort of warning in the same way that I don't know, we overwork or get a headache or something. It's a symptom to say, well, you have to slow down. Yeah. So I don't know if that helps or was clear.
Great. And this meaning of life, are there certain points in people's lives when this becomes what they want to talk about?
Right. Okay, well, I think meaning in life, there isn't an a priori meaning to life. And I think, when I was thinking about this subject, my mind was going towards finding life purpose, meaning, and I had to really sort of stop and think about the life journey that we're all on. So we're all on the same life journey, and it's essentially a journey of, well, you could call it psycho-spiritual development. Yeah. So it's a process of moving from a sort of lesser identity to a greater identity. And that never stops until we get to source, which I don't think any of us are likely to do. I mean, that would be getting to your sort of Brahman or God or the source, or the self with a big S. So where meaning becomes pertinent, and if I can take a moment to very, very briefly describe what this journey is like. And it's transpersonal is the word that would embrace all of these stages. So you have a pre-personal stage, and that's really from the womb through childhood. So that's the stage where basically you're identified with the body. You're a sort of bag of instincts and emotions. If you think of what a baby's like, they have no sense of self. It's just a sort of body, distress, joy, yeah. And you go into childhood and you start to develop a sense of self. Around about from sort of 7 onwards, we have a sense of self. But it's very much what's delivered to us. It's the conditioning we get from our parents and from schools and society. Yeah? And so you go from that pre-personal into the personal. where you have this sense of self. But this sense of self is your ego identity. Yeah? So it's all the belief systems that you've internalized, all the conditioning that you've got. It's adapting to societal norms, it's fitting in, it's being concerned about how people view you, your persona, the roles you play. Yeah? And many of us will spend all our lives at this point. And that's fine, it's not. But sometimes things start to stir, where we're discontent, we don't know what we're doing with our lives. There may be, as I said, symptoms. We might be depressed, we might be anxious. And this is alerting you to having to actually look at what am I doing with my life? Am I living my life authentically? So it's at some point in that part of our journey, yeah, when we're adult, when we have a sense of self, when we're, well, often there's a sort of metaphor that's useful, which is the horse and the rider, and the rider is our ego, our minds, and the horse is our body and instincts, yeah? So we carry on like that for a point, and then, the horse might fall over, the body might fall apart, you might get ill, yeah? So something will alert you to go deeper, to start looking for a deeper sense of meaning. So it's at that point that meaning becomes important, and this is where therapy helps, because it's, you can go into a real crisis at this point. It can feel like a really dark place and you don't know which way to turn, you don't know where your anchor is. And so if you work with a therapist, or it can be a spiritual teacher, or someone that has at least walked a few steps ahead of you on that path, they can sort of hold a light for you, they can guide you.
And sometimes, am I right in saying that sometimes people reach these sort of crisis points with things like bereavement? That would be an example of when, or serious illness. Yeah,
well, absolutely, bereavement. I mean, death is one of the greatest teachers. Death teaches us how to live. It's actually when, someone close to you sort of passes away, and you get to sort of reflect on their life, and they're gone, and you really start to think about, well, what's the point of it? They were here, they did all these things, now they're gone. And it can really affect us, personally, and make us reevaluate, think about what we're doing with our lives and in our lives. So, and illness as well. When you think about meaning, and this is, I suppose, sort of looking differently at, rather than, finding meaning in life, finding the meaning in things that happen to you in life. No one wants to be ill or something, to sort of disable you in some way from the life that you were used to, and this understandably would plummet people into a Great Depression. But if you can kind of spin it to see that there's some learning in that, if you can find something, it's an opportunity for you to grow and develop and bring forth something new in you, yeah. And if that makes sense, and we can look at the sort of, particularly you people that are in fact disabled, and some will go on and win Olympic medals, and others will be sort of bitter and resentful and not be able to find a meaning in what's happened to them. So every difficulty or challenge we face in life is always an opportunity for growth. There's always something you can learn from it. You can, it might be acceptance or courage. There's something that you can get from it.
Do you think that's something that is easily explained to people when they come to see you? Do you find that people are receptive to that?
You mean if they come and they're in a really dark place? Well, it can take some time. You know, it's and it's about having to, you know, the resources are within. It's about turning within and reflecting and asking, you know, what might this be about? Why is this happening to me? What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this?
We recently did a therapist event, which was about working with millennials. And it seems to me, you know, millennials aged between 23 and 38 are quite often more going to therapy than normally in that had been in that age before. A lot of therapists are seeing largely millennials. Is that true of you? Are you seeing a lot of millennials?
I see a broad range. If I think about it, I think it's quite evenly distributed. But
one of the things that stands out with them is the search for purpose. For there to be that something like a great job or a great education or a great relationship is not enough. There needs to be a kind of meaning.
Yes.
What would you say about that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think this is a societal problem. It's all the sort of the structures that gave us meaning out there, you know, are falling apart. You know, all the belief systems are being questioned, and that's where we had previously, you know, looked for our sort of direction and guidance. Exactly that. You know, do this study, get this job. It's the sort of we live in an extrovert society, you know, and we have had this sort of bigger, stronger, faster model. And this is changing now. I mean, it's changing on a societal level, that we do need to actually turn inward and find out who we are. And, you know, part of the thing that happens in therapy is getting to know who you are underneath those roles, underneath those belief systems that you've just been fed and sort of ingested. Yeah. So it's about finding out what your strengths are, what the qualities that are innate to you. You know, finding out if you're a more extroverted person or introvert. So finding out who you are, because then you can find out, well, this is what I've got to offer with my life. You know, this is what I've come in with, and that's what I need to share. So that's how you sort of find your dharma or your life purpose. I mean, the thing is, it might not be something great in the extroverted sense, you know. You can find out your dharma, you might not like it, you might not want to follow it. You know, I mean, for many years, my dharma was being a mother, and I would still say that's if I chart my long life, you know, that would still be the most important thing, the most fulfilling thing I've done. You know, I mean, so, and our dharma changes through, you know, our life purpose will change as we develop. But if you know who you are, if you know what qualities you have, what strengths you have, you also know where you're lacking in balance, what needs to come forth in you, which you can work on. If you know what your interests are, what impassions you, and you have an idea of your values, the things that are important to you, you know, is just as important to you as you know, whatever your values are. Then you've got all the ingredients. You put them together in that mix, and you know that you're pretty well on your way to finding, well, what's going to be purposeful for me in terms of, you know, the kind of work I do or how I live my life.
And do you feel that people sometimes have sort of whizzed through life without really thinking about that?
Oh, well, we all whiz through life unconsciously until something happens to stop us in our tracks and start looking at it, you know? I mean, you know, we're here to wake up. We're here to become conscious, instead of just again, living from this place of the conditioning of your parents. Yeah. So this is very much, Jung's approach to therapy, which was the sort of first part of life is all about building an ego, building that this is who I am, these roles, taking on all these beliefs, having this persona, the face that you show the world, and basically kind of locking in a dark cupboard all your shadowy stuff, the things you don't like about yourself, and also possibly some real talents in there, but there wasn't space for them in the setup. Yeah. And he used to say it was sort of midlife, which I don't know if that would be when he was writing about, he formulated this concept of individuation when he meant that was 35 or 40, but I think millennials are reaching it now because everything's so accelerated. So you spend the first part of your life building this sort of sense of who you are, and then you realize, oh well, I'm on the top of the mountain now. What do I do? Go and climb another mountain, get more achievements, buy more houses or cars, because it's not doing it for me. So you spend the point of this last part of your life, or the rest of your life, is to look within and find out who you are once you let go and strip away those sort of things you've identified with. And find out what's wanting to come through in you. What's quite often what I will ask people when they're struggling. Oh, but I don't know. I will say, well, what did you like doing when you were young? Like I don't know, from the age of 8 to 14 or teenage years or whatever. What did you enjoy doing? What was happening, sort of spontaneously and instinctively? Because that's a clue. You like writing stories, you liked painting, you like dancing. Okay, it may not mean that you can, join the Royal Ballet now when you're 57 or something. But you can. But that's meaningful for you. Bring it into your life. Join a dance class. Do you see what I mean about? So looking within and connecting to what's. It's connecting to your authentic self. To the gifts that the talents and gifts and skills and the strengths and qualities that you have, and finding a way to express them in some way. If you're lucky enough to be able to align it to your job, that's great, but we can't always do that. Or if we choose to do that, then we have to make a decision. If you love painting and all you want to do is paint, you have to reconcile, well, you might not have a lot of money, but you might be deeply fulfilled on another level. So, these are all things that, these are things that to grapple with, with a therapist in a therapy session, or, or on your own, with your own inner sort of reflecting and thinking about things.
I've been asking all the therapists what they learned from their own therapy experience.
Oh, my own therapy experience. Yes. Oh, wow. Well, Lord, how many decades of therapy. My first, I was thinking about this the other day, and it's the reason I became a therapist. And my first therapy, she was maybe I shouldn't say that because that would be slanderous, but it was 13 years. I think I grew up in real time. So I was literally, ground zero when I went to therapy. I didn't have a sense, I was broken in millions of pieces. So I actually experienced, literally going from probably birth to 13 years old. And it was life transforming, and I've spent the rest of my time giving that gift back, actually, because I don't think I'd be here, And I didn't know what therapy was when I went in. I had a friend that said, Liz, you're so depressed, you're so, please go and see a therapist. And he wrote something on a piece of paper for me. And a year later I said, that name you gave me, whatever, and finally went. I didn't have a clue what I was getting into, but it's just the life giving, because I don't think I would have, so I learned Well, I learned about myself, really, and I learned that. I think once I start, I'll never stop on that one. But you know, there's something about a trust, I think, and faith, and if that something stirs in you, hopefully the universe will guide you to the right therapist, and you know, you'll get that light held for you, really, because yeah.
Great, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I learn a lot from my clients, though, all the time. Totally. We never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
We've got